starting Be'ezus Hashem Siman Kuf Mem Gimel in Vayol Moshe, and we're continuing with the subject of aguda. In Siman Kuf Mem base, he started with the aguda and he explained that the aguda of today is totally different from the aguda of the time of the Chofetz Chaim and Reb Chaim Oizer, because they, instead of fighting Zionism, they've joined Zionism.
Just like kind of like in Israel.
And by the way, the Brisker Rav has a mashal with the aguda. He says the aguda is like a train that gets to the end of its route and it turns around and goes the opposite direction. So that's what the aguda is.
Yeah,
so now,
much different as I said before.
The al kolponim zev vadai. In any case, this is clear. Shanishtanu in yanehu aguda legreyusa, that the aguda has changed for the worse. Harbe, much for the worse, from the time that they joined with the Israeli government. Umasha oimrim, and this that the aguda says, nishtanu hoitim, times have changed. Now we have to do according to the current situation, and we have to change our tactics. So he says, first of all, the Torah didn't change. The Psak Halacha doesn't change. The Chazon Sofer writes in his will, his testament to his Talmidim and his family. He said, "Al toimar nishtanu hoitim." Don't say that times have changed. Yesh lanu av zaken. We have an old father who lo nishtana. He never changed. Who lo yishtana. He will never change. So don't change Yiddishkeit. The Chazon Sofer had the reform movement to fight with, and he said, all these changes they're making because they say times have changed. No, Yiddishkeit never changes. Now, in all fairness, the aguda will argue that it's not that we're changing the halacha, we're changing our tactics because since the situation is different, it calls for a different approach. The halacha is not the same in all situations. So when Zionism was just a movement to secularize the Jewish people, fine, we don't join that movement. Now that they took over a piece of land and we're living in that same land, so we might as well have our democratic rights to have our say in controlling the country too. Why not?
I read an interesting article about.
So I think what he means here is like this: that if the problem with Zionism was just secularism, then you could have a title like that. You could say, yeah, until now they were just a secularist movement, and now it's a Medina, it's a country. So like all countries in the world, if it's democratic, we have to participate. But if the problem is having a Medina in the first place, so then it doesn't make a difference if they have a Medina now, because if you go into politics, if you go into a country's government, you have to agree to one thing: the country should exist.
Yeah.
After that, okay, you can disagree about how the country should be run, but you agree basically to the idea the country should exist. You can't go and be elected to office if you don't agree the country should exist.
Of course,
so that's the problem here. That if the Metzias changed, that halacha doesn't change. So you can't say, okay, now there's a Medina, we're allowed to join it. That's what he means here. That if the aguda was against Zionism to begin with, because they held the etzem that you can't have a Medina, then that doesn't change now that there is a Medina. You don't join it. Okay. V'yadrabba, and on the contrary, lahachmir yoiser yesh loymar shenishtana, that there is a svara to say that if you want to change things from then till now, you should change it to the more strict side, and you should be more strict in opposing Zionism than they were in the 1910s, 1920s. Why? Basically, he's going to say that today people are in a lower madrega; they're more likely to be influenced by the Tzionim, so therefore we should be more machmir about it than we used to be.
That's why out of the generation there are more and more Takarmi and Chazal, just the weaker generations.
Right.
Just for example, the Maharal even says.
Okay, so Kemavur begemor chagiga daf tesvav gabi Remeir shalamad Torah mipi acher. By the sugya there of Remeir who learned from Acher, from Elisha ben Avuya, and we had this in Siman Kuf Vav already. The Rebbe discussed this kasha that he's about to say. Shemachalik bein gadol l'katan. That the kasha is that the Gemara in Chagiga says there's a difference between whether you're a great person or a small person. So a great person like a mayor is allowed to learn from an apikoros because he can distinguish between the good and the bad. He can make sure not to learn from his bad parts. But the cotton, a person on a lower madrega is going to have a difficult time distinguishing, so he shouldn't be a talmud of an apikoros. So tesha cotton aser lil moed meirav she'eno hagun diyesh lachushi mashech achrav. We're afraid he might be influenced by him. Ayin sham berashi v'toisus. So only Reb Meir, who was great, he was allowed to do it, but everybody else is not allowed to do it. However, the Rambam just says it without any distinctions. The cost of stam sha'asir, he just says it's just plain osir to learn from a Rav she'enu hagun. V'hikshu alav, so they ask a kasha on the Rambam, and it's the Lechem Mishnah. He means Lechem Mishnah asks on the Rambam, Taharei b'Gemara mechalek bein gadol v'katan. The Gemara does distinguish. So the Rambam should have spoken out. Yeah, when is it also to learn from a bad Rebbe? Only if you're a katan. But if you're a gadol like a mayor, then you can learn from an apikoros. Because of a shach, so the shach answers, Siman Reish Memvav, shesoiver Rambam devizman hazeh loy adif hagadol mi'akatan. That he says, nowadays, even the gedolim of nowadays are no better than the ketanim of the time of the Gemara. He says, "Lo yadif hagadol me'akatan shehaya bizman hashas, v'chayshin lo olam shema yimashich acharav." And today, no matter who you are, we're afraid you'll be influenced by him. So that's why the Rambam didn't bother going into these distinctions. Now, it's interesting that the Lechem Mishnah brings this teretz too, but the Lechem Mishnah rejects it because he says the Rambam still should have spoken out that you should. The difference between a gadol and a katan, because the Rambam is written for all times. The Rambam's not just written for Bizman Hazeh. So he writes about Korbanos, he writes about the Beis Mikdash. So he should write, because in the times of Mashiach, maybe we will have gedolim who are so great like Reb Meir. So therefore the Rambam should have spoken out, for those people, it's allowed to learn from a Rav she'enu hagun.
What's the answer?
But the problem is, so the Lechem Mishnah comes out with a different answer. He comes out that the answer is that we don't paskin like Reb Meir.
Oh, I see.
So we paskin it's no matter who you are, you're not allowed to learn. But
Reb Meir was criticized for learning from Acher.
Yeah.
For learning.
From learning from Acher, from being a Talmud.
From like an Abikaris or something.
Yeah.
How about Achisofel?
Well, Achisofel was.
But does it say Halamid Mikol Adam?
No, she's not supposed to learn.
So he called him Rebbe or something.
Right, but that maybe when he was still good. Maybe he became bad later. Okay, the kids. So what I'm trying to say is the Lechem Mishnah says this teretz of the shach, and he shlugs it up because he says, how could it be the Rambam wouldn't leave out something that's negei b'moisa Mashiach? My question on that is, in the moisa Mashiach, are there going to be apikorsim?
No.
They're teaching Torah. So then, what is the Lechem Mishnah worried about?
Don't know.
Right. So now v'im kain, back to the Vayom Moshe. V'im kain gam b'hischabros l'rishaim. Here also, when it comes to the aguda joining the Zionists, v'chol kichas temichas mehem, and accepting funding from them, chomer yoyster b'dor hazeh. It's more of a severe prohibition nowadays than it was in the time of the Chofetz Chaim. Ki kol ma shenismatu adoros. All the time that the generations have gotten smaller, you read this adoros, and people have gotten lesser and weaker. When these katnu, they became smaller. All yoyser li yoys nimshach achrav. It's more likely to be influenced by the tzionim. So therefore, even if we're going to be changing today, we should change it to the chumrah, not the kula.
Yeah, like we find out mostly, like even in Hagim we adopted.
Ella af lefi divrayim. However, even according to the agudists themselves, who taina that they are justified in changing their approach, that because of the difference in the situation they changed. At least the least we can say to them is that this is not something that your gedolim from the last generation anticipated, and they didn't speak about it. So even if you're going to change the halacha because in response to what's happening, you can't claim that those gedolim paskin like you're saying today, because they're not here to paskin. How can you go and hang that on the Chofetz Chaim and on the Reb Chaim Brisker and the Rebbe Chanan and the Ger Rebbe, who were people who supported the aguda in the 20s and 30s, but didn't see what happened in the 40s. The Ger Rebbe was nifter, I think, in 1948, right before the decision was taken by his son-in-law, the Shemeir Levin.
I thought it was after he died.
No, I think he was nifter in 1948 itself.
Yeah, but I thought after the Declaration of Independence.
After the Declaration of Independence, but before the first government was set up in 1949.
But he was there when his son-in-law signed.
It could be, yeah. I think so. Yeah, it's true. And they asked him if he asked his father-in-law, and I think he said he didn't. Anyway, how could you go and blame this on those gedolim? We don't tell someone who did not see the moon on Rosh Chodesh to come and be made. This is a reference that the Gemara in Nida Daf Zayin says that one time Rebbe Lezer said over a halacha that there are 4 nashim in a certain halacha, and Rabbi Yeshua said, I only heard one of those cases. So Rabbi Elazar said, okay, you only heard one, but I heard all 4. So accept it from me. I know the halacha, you don't. And I don't expect you to know it because you never heard it. He said, we don't say to someone who didn't see something that you should come and say Edis on it. I saw it, so I could say Edis. So we're borrowing the term over here. We're saying that we don't tell someone to say Edis about what the Ger Rebbe and the Chavetz Chaim held if they're not around anymore and they didn't see the situation of today. So to blame what the aguda does and to claim that they have the support of the previous gedolim is like slandering those who are in the olam ha'emes and sleeping in the dust. Mi yigala afar me'eineim, and who will remove the dust from their eyes? If they would be alive today, they would speak out against what the aguda is doing in the strongest of terms. Okay, ukedushas zikni, zichron lebracha. That's the B'yitav Lev. B'yitav Lev, the Satmar Rebbe's grandfather. Satmar Rebbe's father was the Kedushas Yamtiv, and his father was the Yitav Lev. So the Yitav Lev, Parsha Shmois Ois Ches, Pirish Masha Amr Chazal B'schus Dal Dvarim Nigalu. Chazal say there are 4 things that Bnei Israel did in Mitzrayim to be redeemed. Ve'echad mehem shelo yishinu eshmam. One of them is they didn't change their names. They had Jewish names, Pashtas. So v'tamsis tavarav, but what the Yitav Lev learns is b'kitzer shemasha amru shleishinu eshmam ratzalim shetiknu atmam kefi shmam. Avada, they didn't change their Jewish names, but it's a bigger chiddush. Not only that, they conducted themselves in accordance with those names. So they didn't act like goyim with Jewish names. Shetiknu atmam kefi shmam the kedusha v'heim ushmam echad. They and their names were one. If you have a heilige Jewish name but you don't conduct yourself on that level, that's called changing your name, even though you're not changing your name. Because you're not behaving in a way that's the same that what your name indicates about your real essence and your real qualities. That's what I say about the aguda too. That today the aguda is called by the same name as the previous generations called it, still called Agudas Yisrael. That's called changing the name, legamri. Even though the name's the same, because the essence of aguda is the opposite of what it was then. They're not at all the same aguda that it was in that time. Now he's going to explain why it's taka not a good idea to give your haskama to something that might change later, because you see what happened with the aguda, it changed. So he's going to give a couple examples here of things that change, halacha issues that change, machine matzahs. So listen what he's going to say.
Didn't the Rishon say it's chametz gamor or something like that?
The Divrei Chaim. You're going to hear it. 1 second.
Yeah.
The haya plugta gedola, when the machine matzahs were invented. Yeah. And by the way, what were machine matzahs back then? It was basically the same as matzahs today, except instead of rolling it out by hand, they had a machine to to produce the matzah before it was put in the oven, and then they put it in a regular matzah oven and baked it. Now it's totally different. Now the machine does the whole process. It sits on a conveyor belt, it goes through the oven, cooks in more time than regular matzahs. It's totally different. So what he's about to say is really true. But in any case, listen. Yeah? Okay, so that's what I'm saying. The machine matzahs were totally different then. There was a big machlokes bein hachachamim maracha mul maracha. One camp against the other. Zeh oyster v'zeh matir. One of them forbid the machine matzahs, the Divrei Chaim and the others, and the other one permitted it. Like you said, the Ksav Sofer, I think.
There were no machines yet in his time.
That's what I'm trying to say. The machine was not an electric machine with a conveyor belt. It was just a machine that produced the flat matzah before you put it in the oven, and then they put it in a regular matzah oven and baked it.
But the Eira Achreida said things.
No, but I'm sure in the 20th century they already had electric machines that like today.
Okay,
No?
but the machine that they had then was not today's machine.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So the kol echad v'echad cost of time v'nimukai.
Yeah.
Each side wrote his reasons why he either permitted or forbid it. B'chol prati ha'asiya shel machine. They went into the whole detail of how the machine works. Amnam Mar Nakadosh b'divrei Chaim chelik aleph for Chaim Siman Chav Gimel Chav Daled. The Divrei Chaim is hechli less or machmas taimim kemusim. The Divrei Chaim paskin that they're aser, but he did not give any reasons. He just kept the reasons a secret. The cost of shemakubal mipi morav v'chama izal. He said he has a kabbalah from his father-in-law, the Baruch Tam. Shebechahai gavna ein legalas atam. That in such cases we don't tell the reasons for apsak. El lahachli the din. We just say the din is like this, and that's it. The cost of behechlit shehu chametz gomer, and he says the machine matzahs are completely chametz. The rabbim tameim madua loy gila tam halacha. Many people are puzzled why the Divrei Chaim didn't reveal the reason for the halacha. For hayu gedolim shechastru lahavin time of inimukai b'svar shoynes. There were many gedolim of the time who tried to figure out what the Divrei Chaim meant. Well, if anis daiti divrei torah anim b'makom echad v'ashim b'makom acher. That I will say the reason for the Divrei Chaim is because of something he writes in a different place. Ki b'chelik based b'mashin tzitzis v'or Chaim Siman Aleph u'beis Siman Aleph and base in the second chelik of Or Chaim he talks about a different thing, machine spun wool that was used to make tzitzis. So Kosav, the Divrei Chaim himself writes, she'iyas shelahatir machine b'shum oifen. We can never permit using a machine to make tzitzis or anything. Ki oifnei ha-machine mishtanim b'chol yoim, because the machines get updated and changed. V'im yetzei ha-machine beheter. If there's going to be a heter on a machine now, in the 1860s or whatever it was, so yastu gam machine acherim kemaskuntam beoifen shebevadei aser. They're going to make new machines that look like the old one, but they're really different, and those machines will be aser. Gam machine acher. Who's going to say to them anything? Who's going to correct them? Who's going to tell them that the old heterim weren't given for such a machine? They won't listen to you. Like the Gemara says, Chagiga, Daf Chav Beis on the base, it says, Im yoymar loy chaver shelcha, Im yoymar loy chaver. If the chaver says to the Amoritz, Shelcha tame, your kelim are tame, yoymar, the Amoritz will enter back adrabah, shali tahar v'shelcha tame. They'll say, my keli is tahar and your keli is tame. And the subject there is that Beis Shammai says there gzeira that if, let's say, you have a keli of that's kli cheres hamukav tzamid pasil, kli cheres that's sealed on top, and there's food inside, and it's in the house with a mace, then it's matzil on the things inside, right? But a kli tameh is not matzil. So if an amoritz is kli, which we consider tameh, it has food in it, it's not matzil of food. So Beis Shammai says, we say the food is tahor, but the kli is tameh. Why do we say that? Because we tell the amoritz like this: the kli is not matzil other things like kli eitz, but it is matzil food, because we know the amoritz considers his kli to be tahor. So if we tell him his kli is tameh, he won't listen to us. So we might as well just tell him it's tahor, but it's only matzil some things, not others, so that the chaverim, the Talmid Chacham, won't use it. So, but for the Amoritz himself, we tell him, yeah, you can eat the food that's inside, because anyway the chav is not going to eat that food. So we tell him like this: your kli is tahor and it's matzil, but it's only matzil certain things. Because we tell him it's tameh, he's not going to listen to us. He'll say back to us, yeah, yours is tameh. I'm better than you. So the same thing over here by the machine tzitzis. If you tell the people that your machine is pasul, so they'll say, okay, but this one's better than the old one. We invented a new machine. The new machine's better than the old machine. So therefore, maybe it's fakir, maybe it's worse. So if they invent a new machine, they tell them, okay, but Divrei Chaim gave a hechsher on the first one, so this one's better than the first one. We'll tell them, no, it's worse. They'll tell them, no, it's better. That's not what they say about the machine matzahs. They say the high-tech machine matzahs are better than the hand matzahs. They're better than anything else.
But they have a hechsher kosher Pesach.
Who says that?
Who says what?
That they're better than my hand matzahs.
I mean, the people will say it today, right?
I mean, who? You mean in kashrus?
Yeah, in kashrus. Certain people, certain poskim say, yeah, the machine matzahs of today are way better than the machine matzahs of the 1800s, and they're 100% good. The machines are stopped every 18 minutes, and it's checked, and it's perfect and it can't make a mistake.
Well, Ravelsky approved putting hechsher on machine matzahs.
I think Yekis eat machine matzahs, right?
I don't know exactly who's who the machine matzahs, but the point is the mashal, and we're not going into the details of whether machine matzahs is kosher or not. The point is that if a Rav gives a hechsher on something and that thing changes, so people will still use the old hechsher. You see people put out books, by the way. They had a haskama on their first book. They put the haskama on all their books. They say, oh, here I'm going to reprint whatever was given on my first sefer. Okay, anyway, al kein chalila lahatir machine b'mitzvah deraisa. So the Divrei Chaim says we can't be matir machine on any mitzvah deraisa, ayin sham sheherich. Umuvan shetam zehu gam b'machine matzis. So obviously the Divrei Chaim meant when he said by machine matzis, he's not going to tell you the reason. This is the reason. The chayotzi bazeh kostav b'stei chemed. Similar thing is written by the stei chemed. Ma'areches chametz u'matzah b'siman yud ois gimel. It says that when there's something wrong, there's some kind of an isser, and you make a tikkun, you make an improvement in the process, like in kashrus or in Shabbos or something, and there's a improvement in the process that takes care of the problem. Once the heter spreads, and everybody knows there's a heter on this thing, loy nishar ela heter. The heter just stays forever. But they forget about all the improvements that were made in the process, and they just say, okay, it's mutter all the time, no matter what. Erevin, right? People say, oh, this Rav was matzah the Erev. Yeah. So, okay, now every Erev is mutter, according to him. They'll never be remembered again. He brings down stories there, the Stei Chemed. Shahaya Michsholis Gedoilis. There were great Michsholis in Hilchas Shabbos, I think, because it started out with a heter, the Siyim Levasoif, and the Stei Chemed ends off at the end, the Zela Shoinoi, this is his words, the Ilu Doiris Rishonim Hema Ro Es Asher Nishava. If the earlier generations would somehow come back to life and see what was going on with what they were matir, they would see what came out of their heter. They would get up and say, no, we retract our heter. But nobody would listen. So even if the previous Gedolim would get up and say, yeah, we were matir the Erev, but now we're chayzer, we shouldn't have been matir it, they would say, forget it, we're not listening to you. It's mutter, it's mutter. Ad kan l'shoyne, that's the Stei Chemed. Yurin Sham. V'hinei, ki kein anu roim b'ma machine matzahs. That's exactly what we see regarding machine matzahs. The Divrei Chaim saw with his Chacham Adif Minavi, his foresight, he saw that was going to happen. Sha'achshav ha-machinen heim ha-chadashim l'gamri. Today's machine matzahs are totally different. Like I said, they don't bake the matzahs in a regular matzah oven. Regular matzah oven bakes in less than 30 seconds. And machine matzahs today are baked in like a minute. And the oven is much cooler than regular matzah oven. So some people tanya that today it's taka chametz, because who said that you have a Messiah that you can bake matzahs in 1 minute? Maybe you have to bake matzahs in 20 seconds or 1 minute. I want 30 seconds. I don't know. It's a different process. The matzah doesn't cook the same way. You see, it doesn't taste the same, right?
Right.
So he says, the machinim are chadashim legamri b'oifen acher mima shehaya oz. Kasher anu roim b'tshuvasayim. We see in their tshuvas shetziru es ha-machine shehaya lifneim. We see the tshuvas of the people of the time describe the machine. Everybody says, yeah, machine matzahs is good because of what happened in the 1800s. Even though those poskim that was mutter then never saw today's machines. Today, the machines are made totally different. There's some machines today that everybody agrees are chametz. Like they say, I think certain matzah was baked soft on purpose, so that the meal, when they grind it up, should be softer, and they should be able to make cakes out of it, and filter fish, and other things. And then a lot of poskim held that was real chametz. So he says, Yesh machines hakol roim shu chametz. V'afal pichein toil ma heter b'ma she'omru hagdolim she'az hagdolim was ki'ilu ahaya heter shekol ma she'i aloi shem machine. It's almost as if they assume that anything that had the name machine on it, yeh mutter b'chol oifen v'oifen, should always be mutter. V'zev vadai shtus v'hevel gomer. That's a complete stupidity. Ki loy nosnu a hechsher el al ma shero beineim. Those poskim only gave a hechsher on what their eyes saw. Ach derech ha'olam leilach b'dimyoyne shavu v'hevel. that the way of the world is to look at things in this very empty way, this very thoughtless way. And this never occurred to the Gedolim to be matir. The same thing is true of the aguda. Those Gedolim who supported the aguda back in the early days, that was only according to what their eyes saw then. Right? They never gave a hechsher al shem aguda. They just on the name aguda. The agudas Yisrael. Whatever agudas Yisrael does is always good. Even if they do things later that are wrong, somehow the name is just going to make it kosher no matter what. That's something we don't even need to reject, to slug up.
Well, just to add on this,
disprove.
If machine matter is mutter, because it's not chametz. But you can't take chametz itself as now machine.
Right.
So same with Zionism. You can't say things are different now because they're against Zionism itself. Not the way it's done.
Right.
So while if some Gedolim
the chazon ish is letters. B'chelik sheni, in the second volume, it's printed a few letters there from Reb Chaim Oizer to the chazon ish. The Sham b'michtav gimel, because Reb Chaim Oizer used to consult with the chazon ish even after the chazon ish left Europe and came to Eretz Yisrael. Reb Chaim Oizer used to send him letters to Eretz Yisrael to talk to him about inyanim that were important to him. And v'sham b'michtav gimel shekastavis nagdis gedoyla la'oisen sha'alu b'daitum liyasid agudas rabbanim. The Reb Chaim Oizer was against those who wanted to make an agudas rabbanim in Europe and in the whole world. Liyasid agudas rabbanim olamis. That there's a rabbinic organization that would cover the whole world. Be'oimram, and they said, the people who were in favor of this said, Asher b'koyach me'uchad yuchlu lamoid b'peretz, that with the united forces of all the rabbanim around the world will stand up against the problems of the times. V'herich lidchois zeh b'kama timim. But Reb Chaim Oizer rejects this for many reasons. V'kosav be'emtza michtav, and he writes there in the middle of the letter, v'zel l'shoyno, this is his words, v'ho'ikar ka'asher lo madati mipi anisayan. This is what I learned from experience. B'medina Seinu, in our country, in Lithuania, Hamaruba b'achloisei Yisrael, which has many Jews, v'rabbanim gedolim v'yireim, there are many great rabbanim, and despite that, shekol ha'pa'ulos ba'agudas rabbanim, all the actions that are taken by the rabbinic organizations are nasois al yidei ezem mazkir pakid. They're just done by the secretary or the official that's in the office at the time. They don't actually consult with the opinions of the rabbanim who are on the board of rabbanim. Many times they do something against what the rabbanim want, against what they influence them. They just do whatever they want, and they don't listen to the rabbanim. I don't want to go into the details too much. Therefore, Chaim Oizer says, how can we make a world organization of rabbanim if in the course of time it's going to be led by the officials, by the lay leaders, and they're not going to listen to the rabbanim at all? How can we give into the hands of these officials the inyanim, the subjects that are negayah to the whole Jewish people? Therefore, Chaim Oizer says to make such an organization would be very dangerous. We can't accept the responsibility and the danger of this kind of an organization. Ad kan l'shoynai. So it's very interesting. Chaim Oizer, who was the biggest gadol in the aguda at his time, he was saying something that really could be a criticism of the aguda itself.
Remember, aguda changed.
Aguda changed, but even in the time of Chaim Oizer, there were secular leaders, not secular, they were good, they were religious Jews, but they were lay leaders who led the aguda, and they didn't always listen to the rabbanim. Maybe Reb Chaim Oizer's time they did listen to the rabbanim, but later on they didn't. We're going to see in a second. I'm going to show you something interesting. So, Hinei Heida Goin Zal, Reb Chaim Oizer was made. He says, hey, this here, Sha'af ba'agudas rabbanim shemedinas le'levada. Even the local aguda of his country, not the aguda Yisrael, of course, but the aguda Rabbanim of his country, like igud olam klal. It wasn't a world organization, but still the haya az biyam of the aguda Rabbanim shemabinasoi goenim v'tzadikim gedolim. Despite the fact that his organization had great tzadikim in it. The action is taken by that organization. They weren't done with consultation with the Rabbanim. Many times it was against them. Even though they were alive and well, they were right there, you could ask them. Still, people didn't ask them. You could ask them. Kol came by the aguda of today, where the gedolim that they fall back on, they claim to be following, are now not alive anymore. Who could go up to Shemaim and ask them? They went to their eternal rest, and they left us with the problems, and now we can't ask them anymore. And now today's aguda Yisrael goes and makes everything they do dependent on them, and says that everything we do is on their say so, on their
it's not, they were against it originally.
So woe to us that this is arisen in our days. Now take a look at this. Not page 1, that was from last week. Turn to page 2. This is from the book Mikadowitz Ad Hey Be'ir. Very chashuv a book written by Rebbe Weinman.
Yeah, he's the one who showed that Kasha was a liar about the signature.
This is the one you said you want to translate?
Yeah, so I translated the first 50 pages or so of it.
Wait, he's the guy who proved Kasha was a liar about...
Yeah, he proved a lot of people were liars.
So who's Kasha to show us if he's a big liar himself?
So Bekitzer, he brings here, in the first chapter, he's going through the whole history of aguda and its takonis, and he has a lot of documents that nobody else has. So here's one of them. This document that we're quoting from now is something that's in his private archive, and it's the tentative constitution of the aguda, written in 1913, and on page 3 I have the English of it, if you want to look at that.
He's alive?
I don't think so. I think he just passed away recently. So
page 13.
Page 3.
Yeah.
I have in 1913 a preliminary version of the Constitution of Agudas Yisrael was drafted by the temporary committee. This document, marked top secret, is a collector's item today. I don't know if anybody has it except Reb Tzvi, and maybe the Aguda Archive in Manhattan has it. I don't know.
What about his children?
Yeah, I don't know who has it now. Yeah. Anyway, in chapter 9, titled Moetzes Chachmei HaTorah, the following is stated. The Moetzes Chachmei HaTorah is composed of at least 23 members of Agudas Yisrael who are known as Gedolei HaTorah. In connection with matters of the Agudas Yisrael, this council will clarify and decide the laws of the Holy Torah. The Moetzes is obligated to decide on a matter when the leadership committee, the central committee of the Knesset Gedolah, present a question to it. You hear? So the Moetzes is obligated to decide on a matter. They have to decide. They have no choice. They can't say we're staying out of it. You hear that? Secondly, when a leadership committee sees a great need to bring some matter whose decision rests with the Moetzes to completion, the committee must limit the time in which the Moetzes must reach a decision. When the time limit is passed, the committee has submitted its request again, and the answer of the Moetzes is still not forthcoming. This will signify that the Moetzes forfeits its right to decide on the matter. You hear what they're writing here? Yeah. If they ask a question to the Gedolei Hador and the Gedolei Hador don't answer, they could do whatever they want. Now, this was rejected by the Knesset Gedolah. It says in the next paragraph here, he says that 1929, by the second Knesset Gedolah, they rejected this whole constitution. They wrote a different constitution. They didn't write that the Moetzes has to answer. And by the way, it says they have to give reasons. The Gedolei Hador have to give reasons. They rejected that too. And they said that they rejected that the absence of decision within a limited time grants license to the activists to decide on their own. But what the Mikadowitz Ad Hey Be'ir doesn't say right there on the place, because he writes in more of a detached way from the situation. He just kind of like tells the story and lets you figure out on your own what went wrong with the Aguda. But basically what he's saying is that in 1948, what they did was exactly what they said they would do. In 1913, even though they rejected this constitution, they asked the Gedolim what to do about the Medina. Should we join it? Should we not join it? And I'm not going to read everything here. It takes too much time, but you read it yourself. The Brisker Rav said he didn't want to answer. The Chazon Ish didn't want to answer. Rabbi Eliezer Yudel Finkel didn't want to answer. Rabbi Yosef Kahaneman didn't want to answer. Nobody wanted to answer them. So what did they do? They went on their own and they joined up.
Just as Rav Moshe said regarding Israel,
the question of whether to join the Tzionim.
Just to say, Rav Moshe wrote in the Tshuva about Israel's war. I'm not getting involved.
You mean they didn't want to answer no?
They didn't say no, but they said we have to discuss it. We have to get the voices together. No? Because maybe they held there was a side that yes, but they said that we
Satmar rebbe of course said no.
Yeah, but they it could be they held there was a side that you have to join in order to fight from within, but they didn't say openly do it. They said, look,
Brisker Rav didn't want to answer. I think he also
the Brisker Rav, the Brisker Rav was against it. That's true.
Back then he wrote a famous letter.
I don't think the Brisker Rav wrote beferish not to join the government, but he didn't write to join it, and he never told anybody to join it.
Right, Rav Moshe says he's not getting involved with any halakha about Israel's wars because there is no Mechal Mitzvah in our time. He said, therefore, I'm not getting involved. So everyone's like, Rav Moshe must have loved Israel because he said he's not getting involved.
You read in your book that
you can read the whole thing. It says here, Levin said in 1951, he said, at the time of the establishment of the state, the World Executive Committee, that means him, and the National Center in Israel decided to join the temporary government. After the first Knesset elections, the question of aguda's participation in the government was brought before the Moetzes Gedolei Torah. So in other words, only the question of whether once they're elected to the Knesset, should they join the coalition, should they not join it? On that they asked the Moetzes, but they didn't ask the Moetzes about the first question. So it's Eidus Hoidas Baldin Kabeir Dami. Now, so that's what what he's referring to here. That Reb Chaim Oizer says here that when you have something that's run by lay leaders, they're going to end up doing the decisions themselves and not asking the Gedolim.